welcome back to BizBlend, the podcast where sharp minds, bold moves, and real world lessons converge. I'm your host, Sana, listeners, and today's guest is the definition of business alchemist. Someone who doesn't just talk scale, but actually does it. Listeners, introducing Mark Gordon. He's the founder of Integrated Go to Market Solutions and widely known as the original Rebel CRO. Now, with over 2 decades of experience coaching thousands of sales professionals and scaling companies from $1 million to $30 million, he's the guy founders call when their sales motion stalls, their CRM becomes a digital graveyard, and their teams are spinning in circles. Now, listeners, Mark blends his background in psychology with raw GTM, go to market experience, to cut through the noise, fix misalignment, and help founders build high performing machines, not just teams. Sounds interesting, right? So, if you're a founder, operator, or someone who has done chasing leads and is ready to start leading conversations, lean in because this one's going to stink a little, and that's exactly why it's going to help. So, Mark, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Oh, thank you so much. And that was an amazing introduction. I might steal that, use that on some other places because you did a great job of summarizing what we do, and I appreciate the warm introduction.
Thank you so much, Mark, for encouraging words. And okay, let's get down to the problem. Okay, so now you often say, Mark, most companies don't have a sales problem; they have a clarity problem. Now, I'm really, really interested to know what does this mean exactly in a real world scenario.
Yeah, I'll give you an example, and then I'll kind of walk you through. I thought, so I spent my entire career, most of my career, in the mortgage industry in the United States, coaching realtors and loan officers on how to get more business. And the messaging is really difficult in that space, right? Because every realtor is selling houses and they're kind of offering the same thing at the same price. Every mortgage company in the United States is offering the same rates at the same programs. And so it's very commoditized. You get really good at messaging. And it's sort of
Mhm.
built into the fiber of those industries. Well, when I left the mortgage industry, one of the first companies I worked with was a technology company, and they were selling a direct messaging software where you could message where if you're a nonprofit, you have a bunch of followers on Facebook, you could directly message those people. And there was no real way to do that at scale prior to this company. And when I got in there, they had a bunch of really smart, really talented people working there, who'd been working on this for a while. But when I asked them what they did, who they did it for, why they did it, I was getting different answers from everyone. There wasn't really alignment inside the company. And then worse, the marketing and the messaging we got out to the world was kind of convoluted. You get something in your inbox, you couldn't really tell what they were trying to sell you. And then the sales team was confused about what they should be selling. And so it was a little bit all over the place. And I was like, well, maybe this is just that company. And then I started kind of working with some other companies. And I would get together with CEOs who were literally graduated from MIT, were knee deep in building this amazing product, and they still couldn't tell me what they did or who they did it for. Oftentimes their answers would start with how you would try to sell yourself to a private equity firm or a VC company that would invest in you. It was very like, hey, here's our total addressable market. Here's all these people that we could sell this to. Here's all the best use cases that could happen. But they weren't telling me about, from the buyer's perspective, why somebody would buy this and what their emotional connection to the product was, right? And people, when they're buying, want to know what it's going to do for me. And then for your team to build a great product, you need to be very specific about what they need to be building. And so I know that's kind of a long answer, but I'll break it down this way. If you aren't very specific about this is who we are and this is what we do and why we do it for who we do it for, then that lack of alignment means that if your message hits somebody, maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't, but then the leads that you generate from that messaging are not in line with what your team can actually go ahead and deliver on. And then sales is in the middle trying to clean that up. And so what we do is really say, okay, great. let's say I'm trying to think of like industry. Let's say you're an IT solutions company. So in other words, you're selling IT services to there's a lot of companies, 10,000 MSPs they call them in the United States, where it's like, hey, you don't have your own internal IT team. You have a problem, you call us, or we manage your IT services. Well, if you want to separate yourself from those 10,000 companies, you need to be very specific about who you are and what you do differently. And so if you aren't telling me what you specialize in or what makes your company different than the other 10,000, you're not going to attract the right audience and you're not going to know how to sell that audience once they come on board. And so aligning your messaging and saying, hey, we specialize in cybersecurity for small manufacturing companies. Now I know, okay, those are the people I specialize in, get that message to them. I generate leads for those people. My sales team knows what those companies are doing, what's important to them, what they solve for. Then we can move that through the process. This applies to every industry.
So that's where the clarity aspect comes into the picture. So you have
And
to. Uh-huh.
yeah, and you have to tell your internal team what they need to specialize in too. Because right now, if I'm an MSP and I don't have a way of differentiating myself, but I don't say, hey, we specialize in cybersecurity protection for small manufacturing businesses, then my team internally is trying to be everything for everyone. And so if you try to be the best for mall computer security and hospital computer security and schools, you're never going to be able to be the best at any of those things. You need to be able to pick a niche, message to that niche, create leads for that niche, and then sell those people and deliver an exceptional product. And you have to really be able to niche down in terms of both your messaging, lead generation, and sales process, or you'll be able to deliver a differentiated result.
Definitely, definitely. And I believe before that also we definitely have to understand, and especially this could be more relevant from the founders and the startups POV, that we have to first understand whether there is a real problem in there in the target market or not, because then it will be mostly just convincing and trying to kind of convince the client that okay, this is a good solution, or I do have the expertise to add into there, or stuff like that. I mean, what's your opinion on that, Mark?
Yeah, I think I think identifying that there is a problem is, you know, uh, relatively easy in terms of compared to what I'm going to say next. What ends up happening a lot of times is that yes, you develop a product to solve a problem, but if you're a
Mhm.
founder or CEO who's deciding what problem you want to fix today, you prioritize in a number of different ways. And if something is 17th on my problem list, you can have the best and easiest solution at the right price to fix that 17th problem. And I'm still not going to do it because I don't have the time or the energy to focus on it. And I'm just not prioritizing it. And so this is again where messaging and marketing really come into play. It's okay. If
Mhm.
again, I'll bring up cybersecurity as an example. Okay. If you're a hospital executive today, there is almost no chance you woke up this morning and thought cybersecurity was one of your top three biggest problems.
Mhm. Yeah.
The problem is that it's and when the day it does become one of your biggest 3 problems, it's already too late, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you, from a messaging and lead generation standpoint, present a new reframe of the cybersecurity issue that gets that CEO to go, "Oh, man, I need to deal with this. This actually could be, at any moment, one of my top 3 biggest problems, and it is worthy of my attention right now to solve this because even though it's not my most urgent problem, it is potentially my most important one." It's very easy to say to somebody, "Hey, the average hospital breach cost the average hospital $10 million. And by the way, there were 40 hacks last month." And so now if I can get into your inbox and say that to you, now I'm elevating this problem from problem 17 to problem 2. And now there's a chance I might be able to sell you a solution. And so that's where that alignment, that messaging comes from. It's not enough to solve a problem. It's how you talk about that problem and how you elevate the importance of solving it for your target ICP.
I couldn't agree more with you, Mark, on this. Okay, now let's talk about your experience. I mean, you have coached thousands of sales pros over the past 2 decades. I mean, so from that bird's eye view, what's changed the most? I mean, what's and what stayed exactly the same, Mark?
Funny you say that. One of the things that we talk about all the time is if you ask somebody at any time over the last 20 years, 5 years from now, what's going to be different? And their answer would be like, everything is going to be so different. And the reality is most things actually probably stay the same. If I had to pick kind of thing that's most different and a thing that's mostly the same, I guess here would be my choices. Most different is the amount of information easily available to buyers in terms of making a decision, knowing who your competition is, understanding what your pricing is. Even if you don't put your pricing out anywhere, you go to AI, you'll have a conversation with it, and they're going to be able to find a way to tell somebody what your pricing is most of the time. And so consumers have more information available to them than any time in history. And if they have time, they can probably solve a lot of the problems that you solve on their own or without your solution. So if you're selling a product right now, you have to come at it with a different approach, which is you need to be teaching all the time. You need to be changing the way people see their problems. So the old way of sales was, hey, if I got on a call and did discovery with someone and they said to me, Mark, I've been thinking like that too. You thought that was a huge win because now I'm building a relationship. They see it the same way. They understand there's a problem. That's not enough in 2025. In 2025, the magic thing you're looking for them to say is, wow, I never thought of it that way before. Now, working with you is providing value beyond the solving of the problem because they see you as a thought leader in the space. You're changing their perspective, you're altering what their priorities are. There's additional value in working with you. And so information at its core level is a commodity, but presenting information to somebody that they wouldn't have otherwise known to look for or seek, changing the way they see it is now the thing that's going to be the thing that moves the needle and is why we focus on the challenger sales methodology at IGTMS. That's kind of the biggest thing that's changed. Are you finding that in your practice as well?
I definitely, and this particular aspect that you mentioned is actually happening. I mean, we have barrage of sources of information. Consumers are getting smarter and smarter. So it's right now there's a lot of creativity involved here, whether it's marketing or whether it's, like traditional sales as well. Because they know all the information. I mean, if I get on a call with a client and I give them just the information, okay, my product or my service is solving this problem, this will do that and that, that's not going to yield the conversion. That's for sure.
Yeah, and so exactly, and I think you have to be differentiated in terms of how you frame someone's problems, and then it's only once they've decided they have to solve that problem that then you can be the solution that you're offering and you can make that sale. The thing that has stayed most the same is that visibility equals velocity, and that how you get visibility and how you get in front of people, and then and the strategies have changed over 20 years. There's certainly more options now and different ways to do it, and social media content, it's organic, it's paid ads. But at the end of the day, the efficiency at which you make your company, your brand, and your solutions visible is going to determine the velocity of the opportunities that you get to sell and honestly the velocity of your revenue growth. And and so I see the companies that I see succeeding are the ones where at the top of leadership there is a focus and dedication toward efficient visibility. And the ones I see struggling are the ones who go to the back room and try to make their product 10% better and they're under the impression that kind of if you build it, they will come. That doesn't work in 2025. It didn't really work in 2000 either. But it's you have, the engineer founder and they're like, we just got to make the product a little bit better. The answer is probably not. I don't think there's a lot of products you can point to where it was like, hey, the thing worked, but then we added this one more feature and that was the thing that made it take off. It's not usually how it goes. I think if the amount of effort it takes to make your product 10% better, it'd be easier for these companies to make their marketing and their messaging 50% better, and they would see a much better return on that time and financial investment. And so, again, visibility equals velocity, and that hasn't changed in 25 years, and it won't change over the next 25 years. And the founders that figure that out are going to be the ones that succeed because once you have visibility and revenue coming in, it makes it a whole lot easier to solve those other problems until you have revenue coming in, every problem seems like a catastrophe.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's the most fundamental, basic, business 101 that you have mentioned, revenue and cash flow.
Yeah, and it comes from visibility. If people don't know about you, they can't buy your product.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now I would like to bring in the psychology into this. I mean, we do have accessibility to tools and then tactics. I mean, there have been books about, sales tactics and stuff. But how do you blend psychology into this? Like how of how people feel in the system they are part of.
I mean, that's a very big question. And so I'd have to try to narrow it down into in a specific scenario. So if it's in our marketing, we can talk about psychology in our sales process, in our employee engagement, employee retention, employee creating an environment where motivated people can thrive. All of this is rooted in the messaging and the psychology of the organization. So is there a particular scenario where you're most interested in how we view psychology as through that lens of that problem?
Of course. So when interacting with clients, the messaging, the marketing stuff, I would love to
Yeah,
know.
so you know, it's often heard, and this is not new, that people make decisions for either pain or pleasure. But
Yep.
at the end of the day, actually, most people are far more motivated by pain avoidance than they are by pleasure. And that can lead to some optimized decision making, right? And there's some evolutionary components to that. Like, hey, you know, uh, having a good day, what does that really mean in terms of survival? Well, probably not going to change your life by any good thing that happens in one day, but you can have a bad day or even a bad 5 minutes that changes the outcome of your life. And so there's some evolutionary respects to pain avoidance over seeking pleasure in your decision making. And so when you're talking to prospects, you have to get that kind of into their head, right? Is okay, if they buy your thing, what is the pain that they can avoid by solving the problem you're trying to solve? But then even more importantly, what is the risk to that person if they decide to move forward with you? And how can you alleviate that risk? And certainly alleviate the worst parts of it, right? So if I'm trying to sell to a CFO and
Yeah.
part of my pitch is, hey, this is going to be cheaper for you. Well, what are the risks that CFO has, right? Well, first of all, let's say they say yes, but then the team hoots their decision. Yeah, it's cheaper, but it stinks. They lose credibility in the organization, right? Everyone's biggest fear at work right now is getting fired, right? Or losing the credibility of their team. So now if I approach the situation, I have to approach it from their lens, which are what are the proactive educational things I can do in my marketing and sales process that start to alleviate some of the risk for this person, right? Well, now I go to kind of Cialdini's rules of persuasion, right? It's okay. I want to present case studies that show the successes we've had before. That builds credibility, right? Maybe I want to put a guarantee on my pricing so that if it doesn't work, they don't pay, right? Maybe, or that's that kind of a thing, right? Well, what other things that thing that I want to present to my net promoter score, saying, hey, listen, everyone who's using our product loves it, right?
Yeah.
So and we want to, so all those things that we social proof, right? And so how do we get those things in front of the person? And so what we want to do is we want to alleviate risk, right? And in a world where everyone is getting information thrown at them constantly, if we can position ourselves as the safest choice for that person, the least amount of risk, that's going to invite somebody to make that decision. And a lot of that comes down to the buyer persona as well, right? Who am I selling to? Am I selling to a salesperson who might be willing to take more risks, or a CFO who's going to be, very risk averse, right? What's important to them in that? And I want to dictate my messaging and my lead generation based on those things as well. So the psychology part of this is integrated in every aspect of what we do. The other thing I'll say for my just general sales advice, the amount of follow-up or the stories we tell ourselves about follow-up and that we don't want to be annoying are destroying our ability to sell. If you have taken time to present what you do to somebody and pitch it and price it and do all the different things, and then that person says they're going to get back to you at a certain time and they don't, I call that person every single day until they tell me that they're moving forward or not to call them. People say, like, Mark,
Yeah.
you're crazy. That must be so annoying. That
Yeah.
person that I'm calling, but I'll let you well, that person that I'm calling, they know they're the one who did something wrong. Okay. I can list on one hand in my whole career the amount of times somebody answered the phone after my 15th call and was like, why do you keep calling me? They know. 9 times out of 10, maybe 95 out of 100, that person is like, "I'm so sorry. This thing happened. I'm ready to move forward," or "Here's what we need to move forward," or whatever the next step is.
Yeah.
They understand that you get paid. Every day I call, I do it with a smile. "Hey, it's Mark, 3rd day in a row. I know we said we'd get back to you. I'm sure you're annoyed with my voice right now. Do me a favor, if you're not interested, shoot me a text message, let me know you'll never hear from me again. But if you are still interested, great news, we can still get this done for you. I'll be here till 4 o'clock today, let me know." Every day I'm coming with a message like that. And you would be stunned by the amount of business I get just because I stay in the game. And so for every one person that gets annoyed, there'll be 19 people who move forward. And so whatever your thoughts are about follow or being annoying, if they said they were going to get back to you at a certain time, they didn't do it. It is your obligation, if you believe in what you're selling, you believe in the solution, the problem you're solving, to continue to follow up with that person and help them make the right decision. And that's how you have to get in that frame of mind to get people to move forward.
No, absolutely. But before that, I must say that has happened so many times with me as well. It really
Of
makes it
course.
be good. Like, something I'm doing right, and they do understand me, so I shouldn't even uh do the mistake to even forget to call them or message them at least every single day.
Yeah. But again, if you believe in what you're selling and you believe in the problem you're solving, I always say, this is what I do for my living. It's my obligation to get a decision from you. No, but if you're not interested, if someone's not interested, I never bother them again. Right? I might send them some helpful information down the road. I might check in, see how they're doing, but like I'm not stalking anybody who doesn't want interested. But if I pitched you and you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna get back to you," you don't. Well, gosh, I mean, this is my job, right? Like I gotta help you make the right decision. And what I just find so much that people get busy, they get anxiety, they have this avoidance. It's never the most important thing, but they know when they see your voicemail pop up that they're the ones that are screwing up. And by the way, that's okay. Cool. Keep filling them with kindness. Don't ever call frustrated. Don't be like, "Why aren't you getting back to me?" Like sometimes I'll be like, "Are you all right? Is everything okay?" But uh almost always am I met with kindness on the other side of that and apologies because they know that they're the ones who let down that agreement. I see so many salespeople just getting in their head about this or letting deals go. It's so hard to find a good person to present a program to. Don't let those deals go until someone says no. Get a no. Go for no every single time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and please, Mark, go ahead with the next part as well.
What was that? I'm sorry. Remind me where I'm going.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So, also, I would just like to highlight him before we wrap up. That you also talk about something called as the four systems every founder needs to scale. So I'm really curious to know what are those four systems. I mean, are they something different from the usual ones that we talk about, or what exactly are they?
I would say in terms of go-to-market strategy, we have our core 4, right? And then that's where the alignment really comes in, right? That core 4 is in terms of messaging, right? We have to make sure here's your messaging test. Call your mom. Tell her in 2 sentences what your company or product does and who you do it for. And if they get it, you're probably in a good spot. And if they don't get it, your clients probably don't get it either. And I know people out there saying like, "Well, you don't understand my industry. It's complicated." No, it's not. And by the way, the people you're selling to are at a 6th grade level most of the time. If you can't get it to me in an elevator in 2 sentences and we're strangers, you have to keep working on it until you can. What do you do and who do you do it for? What do we do here? Listen, we build world-class sales and marketing systems for founders in 120 days. That's it. Business to business founders in 120 days. If I think everyone is going to understand what that means, right? Maybe I'm wrong. But that's my bet. If everyone in your company doesn't have the same 2 sentences and it wouldn't work with them telling their mom, your messaging isn't good. Number 2, lead generation. What is your distribution method for getting that messaging out to the world? And how effective is in getting people into the top of your funnel, right? And what is your process for that? And so we have to world-class messaging and a world-class distribution strategy of that messaging where we have a very efficient cost of customer acquisition that we can measure and have a predictable flow of leads coming into our business. We then need a sales process that is really good at getting people from "I'm interested" to signed and delivered, right? And we need
Mhm.
technology that works with those 3 systems. That's
Yeah.
the fourth of the core 4 is technology, and automates and manages that process in the best way possible. Now that's gotta go forth, technology, because you can't get the tech business. I see companies all the time with the best technology in the world, and all they're doing is marrying bad messaging with bad lead generation and a bad sales process, and they get no business. But once you have those first 3 aligned, you can really do a lot, especially in today's world with that technology to complement world-class messaging, a world-class distribution of that messaging for lead generation, and a world-class sales process to help people make an informed decision and to see the actual value of the product that you're selling. And again, the key in that sales process, I wanna say it again, is, "Huh, I've never thought of it that way before." If you get someone to say that, you're gonna get that business, but you have to be able to present their problem to them in a way that is new to them so that you could
Mhm.
up the urgency of and priority of their decision making and also become a trusted advisor for them in terms of solving this particular problem.
Wow. That's a really good one. It's actually a tactical gem, uh, to me, definitely, Mark. And finally, if our listeners, if they would like to connect with you, what would be the best way?
I am all over everything as Mark D. Gordon. Mark D is in Douglas Gordon on my LinkedIn, Instagram. You can find me. Uh, yeah, I think those are probably the two best places. You can also email me at mark@igtms.com. That's Integrated Go-to-Market Solutions, IGTMS, or you can go to the website, igtms.com. Honestly, whether you're just getting started or you're the founder of a $30 million a year business, if you feel like you're stuck and you're having a trouble with any of that core 4 and the alignment of it, reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Maybe it goes somewhere, maybe it doesn't, but we love helping founders accomplish their goals.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And Mark, thank you so much for sharing these golden nuggets, for pulling back the curtain on what really drives results, not only in sales, but in culture, communication, and for clarity. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. I thought your questions were great, and I really hope your audience gets some value out of this.
Totally, totally. And to all the listeners, if you are a founder or a team leader, probably sitting in the messy middle, wondering why things aren't clicking, this episode wasn't just insight, it is definitely a blueprint. So be sure to follow Margot and check out his integrated go to market solutions and also take a hard look at your own systems. Until next time, keep blending strategy with soul. I'm your host, Sana, and this was BizBlend. Thank you.